This video is dedicated to James Humphreys. James, thank you. Geist of St. Traft versus Etali. We are on the draw, so we're going to be pretty slow unfortunately, but we'll try keeping it. Right, we draw into a mana drain, which I'd very much like to use on the Etali. And I'll hold up the offer you can't refuse on my opponent's turn just in case he tries to get into fast mana or anything. Doesn't do anything on his turn. Alright, a Force of Will as well if needs be, so yeah, just get down another tap land. Growing Rights of Itlamok, just going to get them a creature, not necessarily going to ramp them, so we will allow it. And that is a Burnished Heart, very, very slow ramp, so fine for them to have that. So yeah, while our opponent's going reasonably slow for an Etali deck, we'll get down the Geist of St. Traft, and if we're absolutely desperate to counter something, we've got the Force of Will. Alright, a Sky Shroud Claim is probably worth countering, I think. They might be looking to ramp into another 2-mana spell, so I'll get rid of the Offer You Can't Refuse as opposed to the Cyclonic Rift, hoping that we'll be able to overload the Rift at some point. Alright, a Combat Research means that we can draw a card with this, so get down the Plains, go Combat Research, and I'm not going to go for the Ether Tunnel because we won't be able to hold up Mana Drain then. Our opponent might get down some fast mana and try to slam Etali into play. So swing in with Geist of St. Traft for 3 damage, get a 4/4 Flying Angel into play, which will disappear at the end of the turn as well. We draw upon hitting our opponent into another piece of blue mana, and away goes the Angel at the end of the turn, or at the end of combat even. So there we see the Burnished Heart. Our opponent can't crack it yet, thankfully. Noteworthy that if we hadn't cast the, if we hadn't countered the Sky Shroud Claim previously, he could have cracked that on his turn. Another piece of free counter magic because we're an obnoxious 1v1 deck apparently. So Ether Tunnel will make our commander unblockable. They can't profitably block it now anyway, but might as well get unblockable on it in case our opponent sneaks down something big and scary. And obviously it's a bit more damage as well, so we're dealing 4 commander damage here. And again 4 damage on the Angel token. So down to 25. We draw a card to the Aura, and that is Pippin, Guard of the Citadel. Another target creature you control gains protection from a card type of your choice until the end of the turn, and we'll be naming creature with that most of the time I imagine, but we can try and protect it against instants and sorceries if they manage to remove hexproof somehow, which isn't all that likely. So the Burnished Heart being cracked, nothing we can do about that. Happy for them to take the turn off doing that. And it's noteworthy that Etali, as I think we all know by now, is an ETB, so countering it will be quite effective. Just need to hope that we're able to counter it. And now a Valakut Awakening. So they've got 2 cards in hand, they'll likely go up to 3 here. We'll allow that as well. Want to hold on to counter spells for things that directly affect us. Alright, there is a Selfless Spirit, more protection for our Voltron. We'll go through to combat now, no need to play any creatures just yet. See what we draw into off the Geist of St. Traft first. Puts our opponent down to 17. There is an Aqueous Form, which will be a Scry when it hits. So we'll play down the Aganjo as a land. And we want the Selfless Spirit in play, I think. And probably a good idea to get down Pippin as well, in case we want protection from sorceries on... maybe our opponent goes for a Blasphemous Act or something like that. Means we don't have to spend a counter magic on it, but in the meantime we can protect our board with the Selfless Spirit giving Indestructible. And we're assuming that we're going to see Etali here, played a land, still 3 cards in hand, and just attempting to slam down Etali. We'll make a bunch of mana with a mana drain that we've been holding on to all game for it. And yeah, that's how you assumed it would go. We'll play another one. Playing against Atraxa this time, serves me right I suppose. 1 lander, nope. Into a 3-lander, so again it's a slow commander, but we can get Esper Sentinel down reasonably quickly, squeeze in a tap land in between. We will keep and risk getting rid of single combat, I think, because I imagine this is ram full of instants and sorceries and the like. So we'll go for a Tundra into the Esper Sentinel. Just a land for our opponent, so I think we can get down at the tap land here. Ready for getting in our commander next turn, hopefully. Swing in with the Esper Sentinel. City of Brass into play to chip away at some life totals as well. Grand Abolisher's a bad one to see for us if we want to be countering stuff. Imprisoned in the Moon can always go on the Atraxa though. So let's attempt to get down the, what is it called? Geist of St. Traft, forgetting the name of my own commander. And I'll shock in the Hallowed Fountain. Arcane Signet being played into the Esper Sentinel. And decides to allow us to draw a card, so that clears a land off the top. And gets in a Talisman of Resilience. 4 cards in hand. And there is a Griff's Boon, so able to get a couple of buffs going here. Maybe just go for the Cartouche and the Rune of Flight now that we can do both because they cantrip. So we'll go for the Cartouche first. That lands and draws us into a Witness Protection, which is the enchanted creature loses all abilities, which again could go on the Grand Abolisher if we draw into a counter spell. Go for the Rune of Flight, and that draws us into March of Swirling Mist. So we can have creatures phase out with that. So now it's a 3/3 flying hexproof commander, and again brings in 4/4 angels, or a 4/4 angel. Teferi Time Raveler. See, we draw a card from the Sentinel. That allows us into a Reprieve, the first counter spell that we've seen, so maybe getting rid of the Grand Abolisher would be a good idea. Going for the minus on Teferi onto one of our auras, so the Cartouche goes back to hand. We still have flying here. And Grand Abolisher might as well swing in because it can't block our commander anyway. Alright, there's an Aganjo, which I imagine we're playing as a land. So let's swing in here and see if we can get rid of Teferi, I think. Not going to risk losing the Esper Sentinel, I don't think. Our opponent might have a Snapcaster Mage or something like that. And the 4/4 Angel comes down, tapped and attacking. We can choose who it attacks, so it goes in at our opponent. So managing to get rid of baby Teferi. Let's play the Aganjo as a land. And it can be the Cartouche onto our commander. Maybe try Witness Protection first. Witness Protection can go onto the Grand Abolisher in an attempt to allow us to do stuff during their turn. Okay, so that lands. Now we can go for the Cartouche in order to cantrip. Draws us again, allows us into Slip Out the Back, so another means of phasing out. Can do that to get a blocker out of the way, or we can protect our commander with it. And it's also something to exile into March of Swirling Mist if we like. They are 1 mana shy of their Atraxa at the moment. And there we see a Food Chain. Exile a creature you control, X mana of any one colour, where X is 1 plus the spent mana's value. So do we force them to replay this? Yeah, let's go for Reprieve and try and draw into an actual counter spell. Alright, and there we see a Flusterstorm, so they definitely want to get down the Food Chain here. Sacrificing the Arbiter straight away in order to make some mana with the Food Chain into Eternal Scourge, and so it's just infinite mana at this point. So we'll give our opponent a little while and see if he shows us anything unique here, but I imagine it's just infinite mana into Atraxa and play a bunch of spells, and I don't know, maybe he's got a Storm card in hand. So playing Atraxa, Grand Unifier, and here we see revealed multiple tutors. Abrupt Decay, if the client would be so kind as to bother showing us. Alright, Abrupt Decay, Esper Sentinel, Imperial Seal, Beseech the Mirror, Gilded Drake, they can cast. Demonic Consultation, so no prizes for guessing which combo they go for with that. And Talion. So they chose the Gilded Drake, the Consultation, Seal, and Sea. So yeah, just sacrificing and recasting the Atraxa again. And this time showing us a Talisman, Mox, Hierarch, Pact, Spirit Guide, another Tutor, and Swords. So chooses Vamp Tutor, Tropical Island, Mox Diamond, and Elvish Spirit Guide. Playing the Mox Diamond. Discards the Tropical Island to that, plays Imperial Seal. I'll give it a few more minutes and see if our opponent is going to get the win quickly here. Sacks the Eternal Scourge to make infinite creature mana again. Replaying Atraxa. Shows us Displacer Kitten, Rhystic, Chord of Calling, Sol Ring, Vault, Birds, a Talisman, and an Off You Can't Refuse. They play the Sol Ring. Okay, and then our opponent just concedes. I mean, I assume he had the win there. He had infinite mana only for creatures. If he needed to pass the turn over and then have another turn doing whatever he was doing, then maybe he could have got it, but Yeah, not at all sure there. I'm not a CEDH player, so I don't bother memorising all these CEDH combos. I'm sure there's people in the comments that can tell us what he would or should have done there. But I'm sure that there's not a whole lot we could have done anyway, so we'll consider that a loss and leave the video there, I think. Hopefully you all enjoyed it, and I will see you all in the next one. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.